Okay, here we go. King Thrushbeard. A king had a daughter who was beautiful beyond all measure, but so proud and haughty, withal that no suitor was good enough for her. She sent away one after the other and made fun of them all. How's the music? Is that okay? Once the king gave a great feast and invited thereto from far and near all the young men likely to marry. They were marshaled in a row. Okay. They were marshaled in a row according to their rank and standing. It does. Music's a little loud? Okay, cool, thank you. I felt like it was a little loud. How's that? Okay. Just a tiny bit. Okay, was that too much? How's that? Is it better? First came the kings, then the grand dukes, then the princess, the earls, the barons, and the gentry. Then the king's daughter was led through the ranks, but to everyone she had some objection to make. One was too fat, the wine cask, she said. Another was too tall, long and thin, has little in. The third was too short, short and thick as never quick. And the fourth was too pale as death. The fifth too red, a fighting cock. The sixth was not straight enough, a green log dried behind the stove. Wow, she has some really mean things to say. So she had something to say against everyone. But she made herself especially merry over a good king, who stood quite high up in the row, and whose chin had grown a little crooked. Well, she cried and laughed, he has a chin like a thrush beak, and from that time he got the name of King Thrushbeard. But the old king, when he saw that his daughter did nothing but mock people, and despised all the suitors who were gathered there, was very angry and swore that she should have her husband the very first beggar that came to his door. A few days afterwards, a fiddler came and sang beneath the windows, trying to earn a small alms. When the king heard him, he said, "Let him come up." So the fiddler came up, and in his dirty, ragged clothes, and sang before the king and his daughter. When he had ended, he asked for a trifling gift. The king said, "Your song has pleased me so well that I give you my daughter there to wife." The king's daughter shuddered. The king said, "I have taken an oath to give you to the very first beggar man, and I will keep it." All she could say was in vain. The priest was brought, and she had to let herself be wedded to the fiddler on the spot. When that was done, the king said, "Now it is not proper for you, a beggar woman, to stay any longer in my palace. You may go away with your husband." Whew. This king did not like his daughter. The beggar man led her out by the hand, and she was obliged to go away on foot with him. When they came to a large forest, she asked, "To whom does that beautiful forest belong?" "It belongs to the King Thrushbeard. If you had taken him, it would have been yours." "Ah, unhappy girl that I am, if I had but taken King Thrushbeard." Afterwards they came to a meadow, and she asked again, "To whom does this beautiful green meadow belong?" "It belongs to King Thrushbeard. If you had taken him, it would have been yours." "Ah, unhappy girl that I am, if I had but taken King Thrushbeard." Then they came to a large town, and she asked again, "To whom does this fine large town belong?" "It belongs to King Thrushbeard. If you had taken him, it would have been yours." "Ah, unhappy girl that I am, if I had but taken King Thrushbeard." "It does not please me," said the fiddler, "to hear you always wishing for another husband. Am I not good enough for you? At last they came to a very little hut, and she said, "Oh, goodness, what a small house! To whom does this miserable, mean hovel belong?" The fiddler answered, "This is my house, and yours, and we shall live together." She had to stoop in order to get into the low door. "Where are the servants?" said the king's daughter. "What servants?" answered the beggar man. Yeah, seriously. You must do what you... What servants? Answered the beggar man. You must do what you wish to have done. Just make a fire at once and set on water to cook my supper. I am quite tired. But the king's daughter knew nothing about lighting fires or cooking, and the beggar man had to lend a hand himself to get anything fairly done. When they had finished their scanty meal, they went to bed, but he forced her to get up quite early in the morning in order to look after the house. For a few days they lived in this way as well as might be, and ate up all the food in the house. Then the man said, "Wife, we cannot go any longer eating and drinking here and earning nothing. You must weave baskets." He went out, cut some willows, and brought them home, and she began to weave, but the tough willows wounded her delicate hands. "I see that this will not do," said the man. "You had better spin. Perhaps you can do that." She sat down and tried to spin, but the hard thread soon cut her soft fingers so that the blood ran down. "See," said the man, "you are fit for no sort of work. I have made a bad bargain with you. Now I will try to earn a living by selling pots and earthenware. You must sit in the marketplace and sell the ware." "Alas," thought she, "if any of the people from my father's kingdom come to the market and see me sitting there selling, how they will mock me." But it was of no use. She had to yield unless she chose to die of hunger. For the first time, she succeeded well, for the people were glad to buy the woman's wares because she was good-looking, and they paid her what she asked. Many even gave her the money and left the pots with her as well, so they lived on what she had earned as long as it lasted. Then the husband bought a lot of new crockery. With this, she sat down at the corner of the marketplace and set it around her ready for sale, but suddenly there came a drunken soldier galloping along, and he rode right amongst the pots so that they were all broken into 1,000 pieces. She began to weep and did not know what to do for fear. "Alas, what will happen to me?" cried she. "What will my husband say to this?" She ran home and told him of the misfortune. "Who would seat herself at a corner of a marketplace with crockery?" said the man. "Leave off crying. I see very well that you cannot do ordinary work. So I've been to our king's palace and have asked whether they cannot find a place for a kitchen maid. They have promised me to take you. In that way, you'll get your food for nothing." The king's daughter was now a kitchen maid, and had to be at the cook's beck and call, and do the dirtiest work. In each of her clothes she fastened a little jar in which she took home her share of weavings, and upon this they lived. It happened that the wedding of the king's eldest son was to be celebrated, so the poor woman went up and placed herself by the door of the hall to look on. When all the candles were lit, and the people, each more beautiful than the other, entered, and all was full of pomp and splendor, and she thought of her lot with a sad heart, and cursed the pride and haughtiness which had humbled her and brought her to great poverty. The smell of the delicious dishes were being taken in and reached and taken in and out. The smell of the delicious dishes which were being taken in and out reached her, and now and then the servants threw her a few morsels. These she put in her jar to take home. All at once, the king's son entered, clothed in velvet and silk, with gold chains about his neck. And when he saw the beautiful woman standing by the door, he seized her by the hand and would have danced with her, but she refused and shrank back with fear, for she saw that it was King Thrushbeard, her suitor, whom had driven away with scorn. Her struggles were of no use. He drew her in the hall, but the string... I know, it makes me sleepy too, yeah. Her struggles were of no use. and drew her into the hall, but the string by which her pockets were fastened broke, and the pots fell down, and the soup ran out, and the scraps were scattered all around. And when the people saw it, there arose laughter and derision, and she was so ashamed that she would rather have been 1,000 fathoms below ground. She sprang to the door and would have run away, but on the stairs a man caught her and brought her back. And when she looked at him, it was King Thrushbeard. He said to her kindly, "Do not be afraid. I and the fiddler who has been living with you in that wretched hovel are one. For love of you I disguised myself so, and I, also, was the soldier who rode through your crockery. This wall all done to humble your proud spirit and to punish you for the insolence with which you mocked me." Then she wept bitterly and said, "I have done great wrong, and I am not worthy to be your wife." But he said, "Be comforted, the little evil days are past. Now we will celebrate our wedding." Then the maids in waiting came and put the most splendid clothing on her, and her father and his whole court arrived and wished her happiness in her marriage to King Thrushbeard. And the joy now began in earnest. I wish you and I had been there too. The last part kind of confused me about I wish you and I were there too. Like maybe it's just saying the reader and the writer. Oh, well, it's a long one. Yeah, I'm hot and I'm falling asleep, so. Ugh. Very questionable morals, yes. Abuse a woman to humble her. Oh, Grimm fairy tales. We'll do one more. The Golden Children. There was once a poor man and a poor woman who had nothing but a little cottage. One more. They earned their bread by fishing and always lived from hand to mouth. But it came to pass one day when the man was sitting by the waterside and casting his net that he drew out a fish entirely of gold. As he was looking at the fish, full of astonishment, he began to speak and said, "Hark you, fisherman, you will throw me back again in the waters. I will change your little hut into a splendid castle." We know this one. We know that fish. Then the fisherman answered, "Of what use is a castle to me if I have nothing to eat?" The old fish continued, "Thou shalt be taken care of. There will be a cupboard in the castle in which when you open it shall be dishes of the most delicious meats, and as many of them as you may desire." "If that be true," said the man, "then I can well do a favor." "Yes," said the fish. "There is, however, the condition that you shall tell no one in the world, whoever he may be, whence your good luck." I bet the fish is in Florida. If you speak but one single word, all will be over. And the man threw out the wonderful fish back into the water and went home. Where his hovel had formerly stood, now stood a great castle, and he opened his wide eyes, entered, and saw his wife dressed in beautiful clothes sitting in a splendid room. She was quite delighted and said, "Husband, how has all this come to pass? It suits me very well." "Yes," said the man, "it suits me too, but I'm frightfully hungry. Just give me something to eat." Said the wife, "But I have got nothing, and don't know where to find anything in this new house." "There is no need of your knowing," said the man, "for I see yonder a great cupboard. Just unlock it." When she opened it, lo, there stood cakes, meat, fruit, wine. Then the woman cried joyfully, "What more can you want, my dear?" And they sat down and ate and drank together. When they had had enough, the woman said, "But husband, whence come all these riches?" "Alas," answered he, "do not question me about it, for I dare not tell you anything. If I disclose it to anyone, then all our good fortune will fly." "Very good," said she. "If I am not to know anything, then I do not want to know anything." Ooh, this is like your husband does like not good stuff, so you're like, "That's okay, just don't tell me how you make your money." However, she was not in earnest. She never rested a day or night, and she goaded her husband until his patience. He revealed that all was owing to a wonderful goldfish which he had caught, and to which in return he had given its liberty. Okay, so she didn't just say, "Never mind, it's okay." She actually did keep hounding him. Ooh. And as soon as the secret was out, the splendid castle with the cupboard immediately disappeared. Yeah, exactly, a bit like Breaking Bad. They were once more in the old fisherman's hut, and the man was obliged to follow his former trade in fish. But the fortune would so have it that he once more drew out the gold fish. Listen, said the fish. If you will throw me back into the water again, I will once more give you the castle with the cupboard full of roast and boiled meats. Only be firm. For life's sake, don't reveal from whom you have it, or you will lose it all again. I will take good care, said the fisherman, and threw the fish back into the water. Now at home everything was once more in its former magnificence. The wife was overjoyed in all their good fortune, but curiosity left her no peace, so that after a couple of days she began to ask again how it had come to pass, and how he had managed to secure it. The man kept silent for a short time, but at last she made him so angry that he broke out and betrayed the secret. In an instant the castle disappeared, and they were back in their old hut. Now you have got what you want, said he, and we can gnaw at a bare bone again. Oh, said the woman, I had rather have no riches if I am not to know from whom they come, than I have no peace. And the man went back to his fish, and after a while he chanced to draw out the goldfish for a third time. Listen, said the fish, I see very well that I am fated to fall into your hands. Take me home, cut me into 6 pieces, give your wife 2 of them to eat, 2 to your horse, and bury 2 of them in the ground. Then they will bring you a blessing. The fisherman took the fish home with him and did as it had bidden him. It came to pass that from 2 pieces that were buried in the ground 2 golden lilies sprang up, that the horse had 2 golden fowls, and the fisherman's wife bore 2 children who were made entirely of gold. The children grew up, became tall and handsome, and the lilies and horses grew likewise. Then the lad said, Father, we mount to our golden steeds and travel out into the world. Father, we want to mount our golden steeds and travel out into the world. But he answered sorrowfully, How shall I bear it? If you go away, and I know not how it fares with you. Then they said, The 2 golden lilies remain here. By them you may see how it is with us. If they are fresh, then we are in health. If they are withered, we are ill. If they perish, then we are dead. So they rode forth and came to an inn in which were many people. They perceived the gold children and began to laugh and jeer. When one of them heard them mocking, he felt ashamed and would not go out in the world, but turned back and went home again to his father. But the other rode forward and reached a great forest. As he was about to enter it, the people said, It is not safe for you to ride through. The wood is full of robbers who would treat you badly. You'll fare ill. When they see that you are all of gold, and your horse likewise, they will surely kill you. But he would not allow himself to be frightened, and said, I must and will ride through it. Then he took bear skins and covered himself and his horse with them, so that the gold was not seen, and rode fearlessly into the forest. When he had ridden onward a little, he heard a rustling in the bushes and heard voices speaking loudly. Or speaking together, not loudly. From one side came cries of, There is one. From the other, Let him go. 'Tis an idle fellow, as poor and bare as a church mouse. What should we gain from him? So the gold child rode joyfully through the forest, and no evil befell him. One day he entered a village wherein he saw a maiden who was so beautiful that he did not believe that any more beautiful than she exists in the world. And as such, a mighty love took possession of him. He went up to her and said, I love you with my whole heart. Would you be my wife? He too pleased the maiden so much that she agreed and said, Yes, I will be your wife, and to be true to your whole life long. They were married. Then just as they were in the greatest happiness, home came the father of the bride. When he saw that his daughter's wedding was being celebrated, he was astonished and said, Where is the bridegroom? They showed him the gold child, who, however, still wore his bare skins. Then the father said wrathfully, A vagabond shall never have my daughter, and was about to kill him. Then the bride begged so hard as she could and said, He is my husband, and I love him with all my heart. until at last he allowed himself to be appeased. Nevertheless, the idea never left his thoughts, so that next morning he rose early, wishing to see whether his daughter's husband was a common rag or beggar. But when he peeped in, he saw a magnificent golden man in the bed, and the cast of bearskin lying on the ground. I went back and thought, what a good thing it was that I restrained my anger. I should have committed I should have committed a great crime. But the gold child dreamed that he rode out to the chase of a splendid stag, and when he awoke in the morning he said to his wife, I must go out hunting. She was uneasy, and begged him to stay there, and said, you might easily meet with a great misfortune. But he answered, I must, and will go. Thereupon he got up and rode forth into the forest. It was not longer before a fine stag crossed his path exactly according to his dream. He aimed and was about to shoot it when the stag ran away. He gave chase over hedges and ditches for the whole day without feeling tired. In the evening the stag vanished from his sight, and when the gold child looked around him, he was standing before. I would have committed it. Yeah. I think it was supposed to say I would have. Not, yeah, that was a weird sentence. Where was I? Sorry, when the golden child looked around, he was standing before a little house where was a witch. He knocked, and a little old woman came out and asked, what are you doing so late in the midst of the great forest? Have you not seen a stag? Yes, answered she. I know the stag well, said thereupon a little dog which had come out of the house with her, barked at the man violently. Will you be silent, you odious toad, said he, or I will shoot you dead. And the witch cried out in passion, what? Will you slay my little dog? And immediately she transformed him, so he lay like a stone. Meanwhile his bride awaited him in vain, and thought, that which I so greatly dreaded, which lay out so heavily on my heart, he has come upon him. But at home the other brother was standing by the gold lilies, when one of them suddenly drooped. Alas, said he, my brother has met with some great misfortune. I must away to see if I can possibly rescue him. And he mounted his golden horse and rode forth, entered the great forest where his brother lay turned to stone. The old witch came out of her house and called him, wishing to entrap him also. He did go near her, but said, I will shoot you if you do not bring my brother to life again. She touched the stone, though very unwilling, with her forefinger. Then he was immediately restored to his human shape. The two golden children rejoiced when they saw each other again. They kissed and caressed each other and rode away together out of the forest, the one home to his bride, the other to his father. The father then said, I knew well that you had rescued your brother, for the golden lily suddenly rose up and blossomed out again. Then they lived together, and all prospered with them until their death. Well, that was lovely. That was a surprising happy ending. I did not expect it to end that well, honestly. I thought that it was going to end badly, so. No! Yeah, too long. No, I gotta jump in the pool or something. I gotta jump in a shower. I am hot.